In a troop, hierarchy dictates everything. No one can escape from it forever. That's Gigi, Grandi's last child with Ridgie. She was born a princess, even though her mum is not of blue blood. But her dad was, as Grandi was the alpha of Bossy's troop, succeeding Cocky, the previous alpha who disappeared back in midsummer 2018. And there's Grandi with Fifi, his other daughter with Ridgie before he was alpha. And Rosie, daughter of Aggie. Grandi had always been easy with kids, not even his. As alpha, he had other babies born to him by other females. Even matriarch Bossy bore him a daughter, Bubby, that summer in 2019. Grandi cared for all his offspring, but for some reason, Riggie's children were especially special for him. Vivi, Fifi, Diddy, and lastly, Gigi. No doubt all his babies with Ridgie were some of the cutest around. And they all had a really dark coat at birth. Why did Grandi care so much for the kids he had with Ridgie? So special to Grandi, they seem to rank equal alongside Bossy's family. And because of Grandi, Ridgie could take center stage, and enjoyed all the perks of the royalty, the real highborns. And with each baby she bore for Grandi, her fortune became more interwound with his. Grandi disappeared from Bossy's troop sometime between early to mid-October 2021. He has since been spotted a few times in the small parking lot north of the reservoir. In other words, it seemed his tenure as alpha had came to a close and he was ousted. And beginning in the last week of October 2021, something seemed to have changed with Ridgie. Gigi was just as carefree a baby ever is. But Ridgie just didn't look the same confident self she once was. In fact, it's the very first time I had ever spotted an injury on her. A black eye. And she seemed skittish too, staying away from the center stage. Poor Ridgie, she seemed to be on the lookout constantly. She was afraid. And I think something was beginning to dawn on Gigi too. Holly, a daughter of mid to low-ranking elder, Haggy just shooed him away. But the rude awakening came when another unnamed daughter of Haggy approached Gigi and chased both Ridgie and Gigi away. Even Dory seemed hostile to Gigi. It's like they were all reminding where she belonged to. In the shade with her mother, like some underclass. No one bat an eyelid. Silently, they all seemed to approve what had just been dished out to Ridgie and her family. Riggie's family are no longer welcome in the center stage. They were no longer treated as Bossie's equals since Grandee's departure. But actually, that wasn't bad comparing to what was going to follow. Haggy had actually fallen harder than I had once thought. At first I thought Ridgie would fare just like Sally, the previous alpha, Cocky's favorite woman, so to speak. Just be banished to the sidelines. No physical harm came to her at all. And she can still live a normal life like other lowborns, bearing babies and raising them. And just as I turned, I saw Ridgie. Almost unrecognizable. She looked like she had been ganged up on, and had been taught a thorough lesson. Half of her left ear seemed missing, and there were at least a couple of scabbed-over scratch marks on her face. And she seemed to be limping a bit too. Indeed, she did seem to have been bitten badly on both of her thighs too. She was walking back to Haggie's family. And this Haggie. Her daughter seemed hesitant to give her any contact at all. You could see her glance over at one approaching daughter of Haggie. It seemed Haggie's family were responsible for what had been meted out to Ridgie. Poor Riggie's face was all bruised. A bite wound on her left arm. In all likelihood, she was held down by her limbs, and judging the locations of those wounds, at least 3 were ganging up on her some time ago. Her daughter looked like she wanted to tend to her, but was afraid to do so in face of who were there. On closer look, her left ear was intact, but there was a big torn-out wound. Monkeys can really inflict with their sharp nails and powerful bite. If indeed Haggie's daughters were responsible, I think Ridgie was now totally signaling her submission to them. In a way, they seem to have accepted her submission by grooming her. Definitely not on equal terms though. Haggie just reminded her. She's been thoroughly humiliated publicly. She should now know her place in a troop without Grandee. I think the message was very clear from Haggie's family. Poor Ridgie, so far what happened to her reminded me of a scene in an Italian film starring Monica Bellucci. In the final scene, the women in a small Italian town meted out their version of justice to the protagonist for allegedly collaborating with the Germans during World War II. But it was all for jealousy. Females could be harsh to one another too, perhaps more ruthless at times. The saving grace was, it seemed Haggie's family was finally at peace with her. tending Ridgie's wounds, not gloating over her misfortune. Haggie's family was more decent and kinder than most humans. It's an act of reconciliation. So traumatized by the public humiliation as well as her loss of status, Ridgie has never been her normal self since. She seems to have lost zest for life, and is getting reclusive. She doesn't seem to enjoy the company of her family as much. Nor does she ever seem to warm up to her grandson, Grady. Perhaps the sight of her family reminds her too much of something in the past. An era when she really enjoyed life. And I suspect Haggie's family wasn't the only one to have picked on her. Because if you inspect her face again, you should notice that, not only has she lost half of her left ear, her whole right ear has disappeared too. It probably had been bitten off in another incident in which she was picked on. Half-hearted. She doesn't seem she can be bothered anymore. Even though her physical wounds have healed without a trace, something is still amiss in her, and it may never come back. I am glad she has a good and loyal daughter in Vivi. She has become the backbone of the family, doing a mother's job for Fifi, Didi and Gigi. Poor Ridgie, she really is broken inside. Let's hope a loving family, and above all time, can heal her. It's how hierarchy in their society works, and I don't hate Haggie's family for this, for they are one of the loveliest family in our gang. It just shows you that these distant cousins of ours remember, and it makes me think twice about giving any individual a hamper, unless he or she is of blue blood, real blue blood, and that only means Bossies and her immediate family members. These fellows remembers grudges and old scores, and will settle them when it's time to do so. Grandy's blessing was a poisoned chalice once he's gone. My dear viewers, in less than a day's time, it's the beginning of the Chinese New Year. This is the year of rabbit, and as per local custom, Mr. AM will also take a week off. There will be no new videos the following week, but everything will be back to normal beginning 30th January. I wish you all a very happy Chinese New Year. See you again soon.